let's go ahead and get started. Ty has a set of PowerPoint that'll lead us through this, and you want to go ahead and take over right now?
I'll take over right now and call you up in just a second.
And then you've got, I'll sit yours.
Okay, so next month, it's an open theme. So any picture that was taken within the last 2 years can be used and submitted like normal, and that will be our October competition. We're going to have a special competition. We don't normally have a competition in December because we have our end of year meeting with awards and stuff, but we have the Happy Joy People's Choice Award. And this is a competition that the Chatham family wanted to try to start, and if it's something that we like, it might be something that we do in future years. And so the general idea is this will start in November. I'm just letting you know early because we actually have this thing started. In November, we'll start the competition. You'll submit pictures, but the photos should be just things that make you smile, chuckle, you know, just some fun pictures, and you know, with all of these sorts of different things. And this is going to be just a People's Choice Award, so there's not going to be any critiques. There's not going to be. It's just the ones that, as a group, everyone in the club that thinks, oh, that's a funny picture, or that's cute, or whatever, that's how it's going to be. And there's actually going to be a $100 Precision gift card awarded for this at our holiday meeting. And we might have an honorable mention or two, but there's one gift card. And so that's the general idea. This is like our other competitions, that it should be a photo taken within the last 2 years, but it can be just anything that's a fun photo, and it's not going to be critiqued. So anyone that's anxious about having their pictures go up in front of these judges, this is not for them. This is going to be just for fun, and it might be something, if it's something that we like, that we might try to do in future years as an end of year sort of thing. All right, so Verlin's going to come up and talk a little bit about this Jester courthouse show that we're working on.
All right, everybody. You've been hearing about this for a little bit. You still have a little bit of time to get your submissions in for the show. That would be September 13th is the deadline to submit. There is a fake competition set up on the website. You submit it just like you do for any other competition. We still have a few frames available to loan out, although I had a request for some this evening. But we can materialize frames if you absolutely need frames, and that's what's holding you up. Diane from the Jester Show is looking at possible dates for the reception. We've suggested a couple of Saturdays, which would be most convenient for most of the people who attend. And we have way too many really good images every month to not have plenty. You see some pictures here from the current show where Gary, among others, has presentations.
There's a question?
No, I was just going to say that if anybody needs frames, I have from the last show that I'm not going to use. So they're more than able to load out to anybody who wants that.
So all you need is your print.
Yeah. I can decide, just come back and let you know what
Okay.
size the frames are.
Just for FYI, Mary has some beautiful stuff hanging. I got it right in the. Mary has some beautiful stuff hanging in the show already. Round Rock Image Creators. Verlin and I have both been up and seen the show.
One thing I'll just tell you, that the frames that we have, that the club bought to have available for people to not have that be the barrier for entering some pictures. There's 16 by 20 frames. They're black frames. They have an 11 by 14 mat in it. So if you get an 11 by 14 print, you would be able to put it right in, and there would be no other cost except for getting that print done. And where we went the other day at Art Direct, that's under $10. I think it's like $8, depending on the paper, to get an 11 by 14 done, and then you could have it with matted and in a frame with a glass front and everything, and participate. If you decide to do a different size picture, then you would have to buy a mat. And locally, if you wanted to buy a mat that was custom cut to go in a 16 by 20, Hobby Lobby, it's about $14 or $15. And so that's more than the print. So if you can do at Hobby Lobby, though, they also have some 11 by 14 mats that have a black mat inside of a white mat, and that's only $4.99. It's a pre-cut one.
Yeah, before you commit to the other place, ask Art Direct what they'd charge you for that, because they're giving us a 30% discount on all of their printing and mounting.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
I was just making a statement. Just mention that you're with our club if you call Art Direct or go to Art Direct.
Yeah, at Art Direct, if you're telling that you're part of the club, then you'll register as an artist that's part of the North Austin Photographic Society, unless you already have your own business or whatever, and then you get the 30% off.
Any other questions?
We really want a lot of participation from a lot of different people.
Talk about what you got up there, your show.
Wait.
Okay. He wants me to talk about what's going on. So my other group, Round Rock Image Creators, is currently running an exhibit. I'm not sure how we got in with you guys, but it's worked out great. So we just went through the exercise of hanging the show a week ago Monday. We ended up with 56 pieces on the wall and some small pieces in the display case. There is room in the display case if you want to do small pieces. Go back one, Ty. Okay. So these guys here. So what you've got in here, they've got the area here with I've got like 6x6 frames that stand on like a bookshelf. Okay, and so I did some small flower things in there, and then Carol had some swag. So there's a T-shirt here. There is a coffee cup. What else? What else do we have?
T-shirts, coffee cup, and there's an 8x10.
And an 8x10 in there as well. Okay, so there's room for stuff. Okay, if you want to do small stuff, there's room for small stuff. If nobody takes it, I'll probably just go ahead and do some more stuff like that, because it was fun to do tiny things, which is not my thing. I usually do big stuff. So all that said, we are currently, it's on, the exhibit is up. Our September 14th date is our reception from 3 to 5, and everybody's invited. We want you all to show up. You can talk to the people who have stuff hung, but also see what it looks like and hopefully be motivated to participate in the NAPfS show as well. So we look forward to seeing everybody, and with a big crowd of people and lots of activity. I think it'll be lots of fun. We're trying to get the word out to as many people as we can just to show up and come have a good time. Okay? Did I cover everything?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, don't sit down yet. I've got, wait, Gary.
Pardon? Oh, I'm not done. Wait, there's still more. So outings, field trips, photo walks. This is something that we put into place in the springtime when we were looking at doing the painted churches. So some people couldn't do springtime. We're hoping that they will be able to do the fall. So we have a painted churches tour reserved for October 19, okay? And this is kind of an all-day thing. We'll head out from the Stonehill Shopping Center, which is at 45 and 130. We head out from there about 7:30. We will get to Schulenburg at about 9:15, get checked in, pay for our docent, meet our docent, and we head out and we will visit 4 churches, and we'll have lunch during the day. And typically, I think we were done, I want to say we were done about 2:30 that afternoon, and we drove home. So we were home about 4:30. It wasn't too late. But it is an all-day affair. But it was lots of fun, and you don't know what you're going to find, okay? I'd forgotten I'd taken that photo, okay? So you're going to see all kinds of interesting things in these churches, and you get to hear the history, too, from the docent. We had a really great guy talking about the background of these churches. There are 31 of these churches in Texas, and we get to see 4 of them. They're all over the place. I actually have a Google map if anyone wants that to show you where they are. They have a list at the Chamber of Commerce, but I got that and made a Google map out of it if you want to see where they all are. But this is really cool. This fall's about field trips. I've got one scheduled for Guadalupe River State Park at the end of October. We're going to do Green this year. We're going to do San Marcos this year. Okay? I think that's everything off the top of my head, but I'm probably forgetting something. Pardon?
There's one more, if we want to go to Bethlehem.
Oh, okay. And then Carol just mentioned Bethlehem out in,
It's in Cedar Park,
oh, the one in Cedar Park, not the one in Burnett.
Bethlehem. no,
Okay.
Cedar Park.
Okay.
The
Okay.
guy is painting it. He's been putting on next door.
Cool.
He's been painting it.
Okay, I'll
so
I'll coordinate and get the deets from you and get that done.
Yeah, we have to get the date. We don't have a lot of choice in dates. We
Right,
don't when
it is what it is. It's like the one in
Yeah.
Burnett is, it's 2 weekends.
Open
Yeah.
short time.
Okay.
So I'd like to go if anyone wants to come.
So all that to say, heads up, lots of outings this year to go to other places far away, but I think that there will be interesting, fun, and photographically productive. So we'll get those notes out here to everybody very soon, so you get them on your calendar. So we got time at the beginning of September. So anyways, but yeah, the big one here, painted churches. I'll send out a reminder here. What I need to know is who's going to be interested in going. So we can, cool. Okay, the new person, yeah, okay. So we want to coordinate, that way we can carpool, you've already been.
No, I
Oh.
wanted to know if it's going to be the same 4 churches that we saw in the spring.
Same 4 churches, there was a 5th church we did not go to. I can ask to change one of them, but I think it's the same 4. I think it's the same 4. So yeah, so it's a repeat for some of us who've been. But I'm okay. I like taking a second run at things, going, I don't know what I was doing and I need to do it again, kind of thing. So you're welcome to show up if you've already been, of course. No one is denied, but we like to carpool, saves on gas, makes things a little easier. Not everybody has to drive, okay? I'll stop. Good? Okay. Is he finished? Okay. Am I done?
We're done with him.
Okay.
Okay, Patrick.
I don't have a slide for you. I don't know.
Sent you the information. Okay.
I
It's
don't
all right,
remember.
it's all right, that's right. I see how this goes. Okay. So we're having a program in 2 weeks. Okay, so our speaker in 2 weeks is going to be Ruben Cruz. He is the sales rep for Westcott Lighting. He will be here.
I don't know why I don't have that. I don't know why I don't have that. I don't have this slide, but
I sent it to you.
I know.
I know.
I
So that's okay. Oh, by the way, I have pictures in the Jester thing also. Everybody else got mentioned. Yeah, well. So Ruben will be here, and he is going to bring both constant light, most likely their LED light, and modifiers, and flash equipment, so you can get an idea of what the difference is between the two and how possibly to use them. I want you to be nice, kind to Ruben. I won't be here to protect him from you guys, you know. So
I'll lead the charge.
okay, good. So be nice to him, because I was able to talk him into coming. I met him. Gosh, it was a thing that Precision did a couple of, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks ago. So, but yeah, make sure you're here. It should be really interesting. His biggest question was, he says, how high are the ceilings? So I think no problem, Ruben. You know, so. Yeah, a lot better. Okie doke. So I'm going to get out of here, get back to the images. Thanks.
Go ahead, Clay.
Real quick, I'd like to introduce Salvador Aguirre. Yes. Salvador is a new member. He joined, he's visited before, and it's great to have him here. Say something about your photography.
Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to join this group of wonderful photographers. My photography, and by the way, I'm learning something about photography from my wonderful neighbor here, neighbor and friend that lives half a block away. So I learned already a lot from him. My name is Salvador. And you can call me Sal, you can call me Salvador, which is in Spanish, or you can call me Salvatore. My interest in photography started when I was possibly 11 years old. And you know what kind of cameras we have at that time. But eventually, when I was like 17, I got a camera that had all the settings, you know, speed and aperture. So I really learned how to use a camera that had all that. Of course, when we got the electronic cameras, it's not electronics, it's digital cameras. You know, that was my dream come true. Because when I was, you know, going to school in Nicaragua, or going to college, I always wanted to have an 8x10 printout in color, which I could not afford. But now that I can watch my pictures on my TV, that is my dream come true. Anyway, I was born in Nicaragua. I went to school there in a Jesuit university. I came to the U.S. to go to graduate school on a student visa and a free collegiature from UT. And I met this blue-eyed blonde. Some of you have heard this story many times, you know, in graduate school. And we started, you know, going together, and I told her, Nina, that's, but Nina is, she's a blue-eyed blonde.
We're going to run out of time.
Huh?
We're going to run out of time.
Okay, anyway, so we started dating, and she said, I told her, you know, I'm going back to Nicaragua, you know, because I am in a student visa. And I said, well, don't worry about it. So 45 years later, I'm still in Texas, taking pictures, of course.
I don't usually pitch for Precision Camera, but this Saturday they have a full day of free classes. Ruben will be teaching, Scott Sokowich will be teaching, Terrence from Nikon will be teaching. So you can't beat it for the price. And the presenters that I know are all very good. Carol, you want to start with your opening comments? I know you usually have some comments about.
Let's do some more stuff at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Let's get through the pictures.
I was switching to.
I'm going to show the pictures. We're going to start. Okay, we're going to go through the first pictures here. Sit down. Okay.
Hi, show. We'll get out of the way.
Okay, so we've got the basic images. I'll go through them quickly. Yeah, if you can turn those down. Blues Jam. Chihuly Fountain. Raining Happiness. August Supermoon Rising. A Day at the Paper Factory in Bhutan. And Swaying Motion. Oh, I don't have that duplicated. Okay, so we'll go back. Okay, I've messed up again.
So, I think
Okay, I was assigned this interview to write a critique, but I want to start with a couple of comments on photography in general, and one just competition. Some of these images come in with metadata, so we know how the camera was configured and how it was shot. It helps to critique the images if we know what the shutter speed and the aperture were. So please, if you submit your images, give us the metadata too. A theme that I saw throughout these images were that there was an image that was clearly, at least if you're shooting at even 10 frames a second, is from a burst of frames. I question whether some of the images were the best framing and positioning that the photographer captured. So take a look through your images when you're setting up for a competition. Look on either side of the first one that catches your eye. It may be a better choice. Blues Jam. I love shooting musicians. I like the light and color in this. But as I look at it a little closer, I look at it a little closer, it seems more like it's two exposures shifted a little bit as opposed to a slow shutter speed capturing motion. Though it's very entertaining to see this, it's good that the photographer got to the side of the musicians, captured the whole front of the lead guitar, I saw here, and have the rest of the band in the background. Carol or Charles?
I'll go next. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. My voice is very soft and I have really bad allergies, so if I don't speak right into the mic, you won't hear me. One thing I want to talk about is, for tonight, I'm going to, the way I usually do critiques is I will tell you like what I liked about an image, what I maybe would improve. And since we've been talking about doing shows and getting our work to the next level, in some cases I will try to add in like where I could see this image being used. So I'm going to add sort of a third column, if you will. So I would like, as a judge, I would like some feedback, maybe after I do this a few sessions, to let me know if you think this is helpful or not. So that's just something I would request from y'all. And now for this specific image, I thought this was a great action shot of a guitar player in the band. It's working with stage lighting, which I know I've done some band shots that can be really tricky. This is the beginner basic category, so these are folks that are more towards the beginner side, and that kind of lighting can be very difficult to work with, so good job there. The band is in the frame, and there's no unwanted like mic stands or equipment, amps blocking the view, which again, that can be really hard if you've done stage. It's hard sometimes to get yourself into that spot. I know how difficult it is to do. I actually love the treatment of the multiple exposure, the drag. I thought it made it a creative portrait. It's different, and to me it adds a creative touch. For historical reference, if you want to check out a photographer who does a lot of performers, I recommended the work of a photographer named Annie Leibovitz. A lot of you might know her. She's kind of one of the more famous photographers, but if you're not familiar with her work and you want to see more band shots, she might be a person to check out. And I thought to use this image in a larger content, I would maybe work with the band directly or work with the club, the venue, to see if they would want to use the image in any way. But overall, I thought it was a good shot, action shot, and shows us some motion.
Okay, well, I've been accused of doing Charles Says Mean Things, much like our former president does a thing called Josh Says Mean Things, but we try and say nice things about people and about their images. Sometimes it just, the bad stuff comes out. Anyway, so I appreciate that this is two images. I mean, this is a composite of two images. It was pretty clear looking at it real close that that it's only two. So there's not that much motion in each individual frame, but together it gives the illusion of motion, and so I appreciated that. I thought that was good. I like the color palette here. I think the blue and the whatever that red is, and that's it. That was magenta was the word I was looking for. Thank you. And the color of the guitar and the stage all went together very nicely. Made a nice color palette. As has been pointed out, I mean, there's some problems. It was good that there's no microphones or anything in the way. I have trouble with that too. The guitar neck of the guitarist in the rear is cut off, and that's kind of an edge patrol issue. We call that edge patrol around here, and so you kind of want to look to see something like that. We want it either to be in or out, and that one's just barely out, which is a little annoying. So you look through your series of images and see if you can find another one where it isn't, or see if you can crop out a little bit to get the head in so it's not annoying. Because I mean, it's a music shot. We kind of want the instruments in, would be good. Now, when we put these together, I mean, it looks like we're a little heavy on the saturation sliders, and that's giving me a little trouble because, you know, the shoulders and shirt of this guy in front, I mean, they're just bright magenta, and they've lost detail because there's so much there. So a little masking or a little not quite so heavy on the saturation slider, I think would improve this a bit. I mean, I like the colors, but that's just too much there. I want to know where you were shooting because I think you did a good job, but you know, yeah, I have to say that while I like the color scheme, that's a little too much red there. Okay, but thanks. I want to see some more. Okay. Next.
I think you're next, Charles.
Oh yeah, so back to back, here we go. All right, so this is a nice sharp image of a Schiraldi piece mounted in a fountain somewhere. I like I liked in general the composition here. This is what I would refer to as kind of a pyramid format. I mean, it's very classical in art to have this kind of pyramid with the tree back there. Now, that caused a little bit of problems because the top of the tree is cut off just a little bit, and again, and there's looks like there's like a bench on the right and another piece of fountain on the left, and back to the Border Patrol idea. You know, things should be either in or out, so those should have been out. I think just cropping in a bit would help this a lot, because I mean, I know we need the fountain in order to be motion, but you know, Schiraldi's really the star of the show. Thanks. Other things I noted behind Schiraldi, the tree is turned a really bright green back there, so it looks like you did a little bit with Schiraldi there, saturating him a bit, and didn't really mask it out very well. So that's another problem. I look at this and I mean the water droplets are frozen, which is one way to express motion, and I liked it. It looked good. But then I looked at your image data. Yes, somebody actually gave us image data this time. Bill was ragging on that earlier. And you were like at 2000 and ISO 800 and f6. And, you know, this looks like this is daylight. So I was thinking that you could get a nice smooth water out of that fairly easily, maybe even without a neutral density filter, because, you know, if your lens will go to, you know, f22 and you can get the ISO down to 100, I mean, that's 7 stops to, you know, to go all the way from f5.6 to 22 and ISO down to 100. 7 stops, you could get that from 1/2000th all the way down to 1/15th, and that might be enough. Or you might actually, you know, make it underexposed a little bit if you want to get a little bit more in to get the water to look smooth. The other thing was I've shot Schiraldi's stuff before, and if you look at the fountain, it looks like it has lights under it. And if I was installing Schiraldi, and his crew usually does it, they usually put lights underneath it. Underneath the actual sculpture itself. This at night would be spectacular. So if I were whoever's shooting this, I would look to see if you can go back at night and shoot this thing, because Schiraldi, when he's lit at night, is just amazing. You want to catch that if you can. Anyway, but thanks for bringing it. You know, I kind of still want to know where it is, because, you know, there's not too many of his pieces around. He's kind of expensive. The show I saw was all the way in Bentonville, Arkansas, of all places. So someplace closer would be nice.
I just want to say really quickly that the TV is definitely oversaturated from the actual pictures.
That's
you
true,
might
but
see-
that's true. But you know, when I look at my monitor
That's
at
fine
home,
too,
it's
but
been adjusted.
just
It's-
the people seeing it in the room,
Yeah.
it's more saturated than maybe what the people are even seeing online.
Yeah. So, but still, you know, you can when you can
that's-
see that the color of the tree behind the tree
No, I just want everyone to
specifically
know
behind
it's in the room.
is a brighter green. So somebody was a little sloppy with their masking there. So a little improvement there would be well.
Charles is the master or the domain expert on Chihuly fountains.
I'd like to be.
I kind of like to focus on where the camera is configured and how it was pointed here. And it looked like the photographer was probably off in the wrong corner of the exposure triangle for this type of image. If you wanted the high shutter speed, you could have maintained it. But I don't think 1/200th did anything for you that
2000.
1/800th wouldn't do.
2000.
1/2000th, pardon me. That 1/800 wouldn't have done. And I'm not sure how interesting droplets of water frozen and coming off the fountain. I need to agree with Charles on Border Patrol here. And once you get started in Border Patrol, I would probably end up trimming the tree while I was at it. But just tilting the camera back or cropping it differently so you have the top of the tree and not the stone around the fountain. That's all I've got to say.
For me, I thought this image had some things that worked really well for me. For starters, the photographer selected an interesting subject. The Chihuly fountain is both beautiful and very identifiable. I knew it was Chihuly the moment I saw it. And he used to have a studio in Austin, by the way, so interesting times many years ago. The photographer made some good choices, like I said. I thought the background of setting the Chihuly against the really dark green foliage from the tree really separated the blue and white shards of the fountain against the tree. So that gave it some real separation and really made those blue and white shards, for lack of a better word, I don't know what to call them, fingers, shards, something like that, really made them come forward. The round shape of the fountain in the foreground is a nice composition. The water drops, I thought, added a playful element. This was done with a 24mm wide lens, and I thought that was an interesting focal length. It made the fountain appear larger, and it gives a prominent relative scale to the fountain. So the fountain is pulled forward, and it looks more the hero of the image. So I thought that was a good choice. It makes the fountain look heroic within the scene. But my suggestions for improvement would be, if you are going to sort of get underneath it, can we use the pointer? Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so this line right here, for me, the top of the fountain, the white part of the fountain, was very close to the horizon. And I feel like if you're going to go wide and you're going to go shoot sort of slightly up, it would be better to either shoot way up and put it near the top of the frame and make the fountain really look heroic, or get even with it. The way it's sitting, it's sort of in between those, and it made me a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little too close to the horizon, and it's slightly up, so it gave me a different perspective, I guess, than I would like to see. I would like to see a slightly different perspective. Also, for me, the real star of the show here is this blue and white glass and the tree, right? So my first thought when I saw this is maybe make like a very tight square and make this a very graphical image, like right in here, like just crop out the image and just make it be sort of almost an abstract with that glass and that tree and that white line. Of course, that would be a very different image. So, you know, I hate to suggest a crop like that. Sometimes that would turn it into a graphical image. It would be very different, but if this were my image, I might think about doing something along those lines. It would make it very graphical, but I question whether we need the background at all if you're really making the focus on the Chihuly glass. As far as using something like this, you know, we're critics up here, but this could really be something that could be I could see this in like a visitor's guide brochure type of thing. It's certain, I mean, there's no people in it. The sky is blue. The angle of the front, the circle of the fountain is very lovely. And of course the foliage is very green and nice. So this image could be used in that sort of regard. And then also if you were to crop in and get that sort of graphical image, I think it would become more in the fine art realm of photography. And that's all I have to say.
Well, we said a lot. So don't take it wrong here. We engaged in this one a lot because, you know, we liked it. But then, of course, we had to tell you all the things that we thought you did wrong. So sorry about that. Anyway, next.
This is Carol's. We're working in order here.
Raining Happiness?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's called Raining Happiness. I have that correct? Yes, okay. To me, this was a really interesting scene at dusk. There's still a lot of light in the sky. One of the themes I noticed tonight with a lot of the images, it was supposed to be a motion theme, and we ended up with sort of almost a mystery theme. There's a lot of sort of mystery and intrigue going on in the images. And this image, to me, kind of had that mystery feel about it. You sort of know, but you don't really know what's going on. It has an interesting, I guess we want to call it vibe about it, if I can use that word without, you know, dating myself, which, you know, too late, right? But, and it's been kind of a little bit hot, so I kind of want some of that rain, although I guess we had some tonight. But for this image, the colors are, I really like the color in the sky, the red, the sort of the red wash, and also the color in the sky. I like seeing the people in silhouette. The color really pops out here and makes some of the shapes of the people, especially the people, again, I'm going to use the pointer here. These people on the left, I thought had really interesting shapes. Right, when you take an image down to where there's a silhouette, the shape becomes very prominent in the image. And I thought there were some really interesting shapes going on in there. I almost want to see just an image like kind of right here with those interesting shapes and that color coming from the back of it. And as you do work in silhouette, the shapes become very prominent and more important in the image. If this were my image, and again, this may be controversial, but I would perspective correct or rotate it so that the back of the image, because it is not square, right? So you can see that the building line is sort of going back. It's not square with the front, and so I would adjust the perspective there. And then also the people on the right, to me, this is almost two images in one, right? Because these people are rendered very clear, and this person is sort of cut off at the knees right here, right? So I would either crop them out or darken them to make it all be in silhouette to make it consistent. So I would like rotate that perspective and maybe crop it so that people on the right were left, you know, were cut out. This really is an image of mystery to me, and I thought I would work along those lines and make it really sing along that. And then if you're a fan of these type of images, I recommend it. There's a photographer named, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but Fan Ho, who's from Shanghai, and he's an Asian photographer who's a master of light and shadow, and he's got a lot of images. You should check out his work because he does a lot with shadow and light.
Okay. So I have a slightly different perspective on this. I really think the waterfall is the star of the show. Okay. I mean the changing colors of it, the way it starts out really bright white at the top and then changes colors through blue down to pink and red. I mean, I think that progression really is the star of the show here, and I enjoyed that a lot. The silhouettes, you know, were interesting, but it's like we're dealing with multiple different images here. I mean, on the one hand, you know, you've got the people with the halos down in the bottom left, and then you got the people in the right that like, you know, like she says, they're cut off, but they're very sharp, and they have a very strong lighting to them, which is also appealing. So I kind of thinking that, you know, that this thing has to have some decisions made to it, okay? The other problem it has is if you go look at the clouds, there's not much texture up there. There's lots of color noise, and of course I mean, I can forgive wires if there's something interesting there, but there isn't. So I'm kind of thinking that the best way to deal with this is to like crop in from the right and, you know, get the clouds out, you know, make up your mind there that the haloed people down at the bottom left are the interesting part, and just kind of crop all the way in from the right and leave the sharp people out and stay fuzzy. So I think that would make it a better image. I mean, I enjoyed it. It looks like you're trying to give me a real fun, happy time here where, you know, I'm assuming that's like some fire department ladder and water going on here. I think it's a fun image. I think it just needs to make up its mind what it is, and you know, and then it'll be a better image. So, Bill?
Well, we can all think about the edits we would like to make on this, and I want to pile on there in that once I've seen the power lines going through the cloud, I can't unsee them. There's bits of tree up in the upper right-hand corner that if that whole tree stays, they have to go. An alternative to cropping out the people in the foreground lower right would be to darken that area so that they become more silhouetted like the rest of the things. This is an image that the camera configuration is really in the corner to get the exposure, probably full open on the lens at f4, 1/15 of a second. So we're going to have motion blur for both the water and the individuals in the scene, and had to crank the ISO up there to 3200 just to get the image. So there was effort that went into capturing this image. So I guess I get to continue to talk, Ty. The August supermoon image. When I first saw this, and I don't see it right on the screen right now, but it looked like it was framed when we brought it up in the judge's tool. And it's like, wow, I need to make an image like that and put that together. That's cool. But then as I started looking at it in detail, I started noticing things that just I couldn't live with. The edges of the moons don't form a straight line, they're offset. This is clearly a Photoshop exercise putting this together. The next thing I noticed was that one of the moons, the second from the top, has a little chunk missing out of it. So this is kind of how these moon images were cut out. And then I said, what are the details here? Let's take a look at the details. And as I look deeper at the images of each moon, it looks like it may be the same photograph. Maybe the intent here was to show motion, but the motion in this image is so slow we're not really seeing it. If it had been a noticeable progression of the moon changing, that would have been a way to show motion. This is another case where I really don't understand the camera parameters because it was shot at a very high shutter speed, stop down, and a high ISO. I'm not sure what the maker's intent was there. Carol?
Okay, I'll go next. I kind of like this. I like this image, I'll be honest. I know, it's really hard to shoot the moon. The beginners really gave themselves a lot to, you know, there's a lot of complex subject because between the band and the moon, y'all picked like hard stuff. Maybe that's how you get to be advanced. You pick easy thing, you know, go shoot a flower. I don't know, but honestly, it can be very tricky to do astrophotography, and I thought there was a lot. There were good things in this image to me. I thought that the moon is very crisp and the illumination is good. I kind of like the diagonal composition, although as we mentioned, as Bill mentioned, they don't quite line up the way we would like, but still it's a good idea. I thought the detail was really great in the moons, in the lunarage, as I will call it. I don't know, I could see this kind of in like a, you know, I mean, I'm just thinking, when I shot the eclipse this year, my images got published and they weren't as good as this. So there's a lot of scientific journals and things that always need images of the moon. And, you know, this could easily be at that level. I will say this, though. I originally thought it might be a really strong image if it were just one moon and sort of a square composition, because I thought it was a good detail in the moon. And I wonder if the photographer just put the 5 of them in to get, you know, to meet our demands of the motion category, rather than actually if they really wanted to show, you know, the number of moons. So there's that, but I liked it. I thought it was a good image, and it's very hard to do astrophotography, so kudos to the photographer for this.
Well, they pretty much said it all there. I mean, it's very impactful. I mean, when we brought it up originally, looking at it, you know, it was one of the top images, just because, you know, because it's so contrasty. The moon is sharp. You know, the angle of the moons across the image is dynamic. It's good stuff. Yeah, and then, you know, and then you looked at it and, you know, and it looked like it was a composite, and you found the chunk out of the one moon, and then you knew. So it was a good moon. You know, we liked it. It was a good idea, but yeah, little editing execution just didn't quite make it there. So, I mean, if it wasn't for that, it would have been rated much higher. So, despite the you know, the, how shall we say, foreboding about whether this is one image or 5, you know, it was a good image. It just needs some touch-up to be, you know, to be a good beginner image. And we thank you for bringing it, and we want you to give us some more. Thanks.
Day in the paper factory, Charles.
Oh yeah. Now this is a really nice image. Okay, I mean, it's a storytelling image. It tells, you know, it's telling this story of this woman in this paper factory. I'm assuming. I mean, I have to be. The title tells me I wouldn't know otherwise. I don't know how you make paper in a vat. Sorry, you know. But it's a capture of a moment in time, and it's well done. I mean, the fluid in the tank just, you know, has that flow to it that just says motion. It's beautiful. It's well done. We had some discussion about the bungee cords. I regard the blur in the near bungee cords as being a plus, because it makes them look like they're vibrating, like they should. And you know, and the concentration of the woman on what she's doing instead of on the camera, that's just perfect. She's got the look like she's concentrating. The color palette is great. You know, the reds, the blues, the tans all mixed together. It's just a really good color palette. And she's sharp. She's the focus of the image, and she's sharp. The rest. I think Carol's calling it an environmental shot, but it's basically we get to see the rest of the shop. the shop is a setting for her and tells us all about what she's doing, and it's great. I'm standing there. The only thing that really kind of bounced out at me was like, that's an awfully nice shirt to be wearing in a really messy sort of business. You can tell. Yeah, Carol keeps yanking on me that she's got an apron, but it's like my wife the other day. She dressed up to go to the dentist and said that she's drooling all over her shirt. I'm like, really? Put a beat up shirt on because you're going to go mess it up. So, but that doesn't really change the quality of the image. I mean, it's really wonderful, and I want to see more. Okay, whoever did it, stand up and take a bow.
And move on up to the next higher level or something.
Well, yeah, right. What are you doing in basic is kind of the other comment that came across. All right, next.
No, we got a little more to say about this image.
Well, Bill, you can be next.
Oh, I'm Bill.
Yeah, okay.
Border Patrol, like most of the other images, could add a little bit to this image. The left-hand edge, the crop there, just left in stuff that doesn't contribute to the image. You've got a nice bright focus on the motion in the water making the paper. The operator's face is beautifully lit. It's like this was planned and lighted, but the background is also bright around that window. So that could be brought back some in editing and take some of the detail out of that upper left-hand corner of the image. There's a blue plastic barrel down in the bottom that you could change the color of it or just make it darker so your eye never falls into that hole. But a beautiful, beautiful image.
I thought too this was a great storytelling portrait. I called it an environmental portrait. The subject is engaged in a working activity. From the title, we can tell it's paper making. I love paper making. I love homemade paper, by the way. It's one of my things, so happy to see this. But for the image, her head, hands, and upper body are all in a great spot composition-wise. The setting is conveyed with enough showing the background that we get a glimpse of the factory or a place where she's making the paper, but it's not taking over the subject. It's not competing with her. She is the star of the environmental portrait, and we have enough of the environment to tell sort of what's going on, so I like that. I like the tones and the processing. I thought they helped add to the colors. So the colors, it's a very vibrant image that conveys the story and also gives it a good mood. This type of image could be used in like a documentary project, or perhaps in a series showing the art of paper making in Bhutan, a series. For me, one of the improvements I would make was the sort of the lower right corner is a little dark, and as Bill mentioned, the left corner. And I guess I'm the anti-bungee. I would prefer the bungee to be in focus, but that, again, that's me, and it's a minor suggestion. And for historical reference, there's a great photographer named Sebastião Salgado who did work in China on photographing Chinese miners. And it's kind of was, he worked in black and white, but this reminded me a little bit of a color version of Sebastião Salgado. Okay, we'll hurry up. Clay is giving us a...
Okay, you're next.
Okay, swaying motion, let's see. I thought this was a lovely portrait showing the subject swaying with some fabric, and it added a nice geometrical textural element with the fabric in the front. I like the pose and the head in the portrait with a slight turn to the side. I thought this image worked for me on a whole bunch of levels. I like this sort of Rembrandt lighting on her face, and there's a triangle up there. Also, the position of the arms and the hands in relation to the torso are very nice, and the hands look very graceful to me. They're in a very graceful pose. For me, for suggestions for improvement, The one hand here is off the frame. I kind of wish that were really fully in the frame. And it's a bit tight on the top. I wish there were a little bit more breathing room on the top of the image, just a scotch. And also, I suggested maybe adjusting the color balance a little, as it seems a bit warm to me. But honestly, I thought it was a very well-done portrait. One of my mentors is a woman named Elizabeth Opalinick, and if you want to see her work, she really does phenomenal work with fabric and draping, and her work was used extensively in perfume ads and advertising along those lines, and that's something that could be done with an image like this.
Okay. Yeah, it's a really nice image. As Carol said, it's a nice portrait. It's clearly set up. I mean, we have the model here. We've set up the photographer set this whole thing up. She's doing what the photographer says, and she did a good job. But the really best part is that lovely red fabric giving us the motion across there. It's the sharpest thing in the image, which kind of gives me a little trouble with what's really a portrait, because her face is soft. Okay, and the left side, I mean, it's a short Rembrandt is what they call it, and so the right side of the face is brightly lit. I mean, from our point of view, is brightly lit, and the left side is darker, but it's a little too dark, and the hair and the blouse have lost detail, at least on my monitor, and even more so on this one, and I think there should be some fill. That just a little reflector on the other side, bouncing a little light back in, would really make the image so much better. And then, of course, you know, the hand being cut off and the head being cut off are other border issues. You know, if you can't find another image where the hand isn't cut off, I mean, cut it off all the way. Either have it in or out. Don't have it just a touch. And the final thing that really kind of kills it for me is you look at her face, the model's face, and she's bored. We need to get some engagement out of the model before when we tell them what to do. If they look bored, you need to engage them. But I mean, this is just one of those almost images that you know, with just a couple more things, you know, would be spectacular. And I want to see more of it.
We need to commend the maker for putting the effort in, having a model, picking the environment, having the fabric there, but there's a lot of room to improve this image. And I guess the biggest thing that bothered me about it is the red fabric is nicely done, but it looks like it was added to have the motion for this competition. It's the thing that provides motion. And it succeeded at that. I'm not sure what it contributes to the rest of the image. My 2 bits.
Okay.
All right.
That's it. Okay, yeah, so
So now we'll go through, after all of that work that they did and the numbers are crunched and everything, we end up with 2 images that get awards, and that's just because we don't have that many images. So we start out with second place goes to Mark for the Blues Jam.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Is this yours? Do you want to say something about it?
So I think somebody asked where it was. Unfortunately, this is in California, so it's not easy to get to, but they do it every Wednesday night for 20 years. So it's nice to get a blues jam, and you can get very close to it. That's an in-camera double exposure. And that's, but I agree with the saturation. I think that's I'm a little too hot on that, but thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in first place is Leslie, and they're out of the country. So,
In one of the stands. In one of the stands.
Oh,
They're in
okay.
Bishkek.
yeah, so yay for her. Okay, and then here we have 3 images that are selected. This is the People's Choice Awards. So this
There you go,
was
Mark.
the bronze.
Dennis.
Dennis for
Dennis
silver.
here? No? Okay.
And then Leslie got the gold medal from the People's Choice Awards. All right, so now we'll go to the intermediates. I'm going to go through them quickly once. Lift off, my wings are blurry on purpose. Working cat.
Drone fighter.
Drone fighter. Luminescent motion. I'm out of here. West Texas wind turbine. Ultimate catch. Initializing circuits. Doing a dyno. Doing a dyno, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning so we can talk about each
Bill.
one.
Yes. This image is spectacular. I'm not usually in with the birders, but this is capturing everything we ask for in motion and a beautiful image at the same time. The shutter speed and aperture are such that the bird's eye and head and upper chest are tack sharp, but the wings that are moving even faster are blurred, giving us even more indication of motion. There's splash in the water where the bird is kicked off just to get the last bit of the launch. The area above the top of the bird is just, it doesn't add anything to the image. Yeah, Carol, thank you. And there's probably a little bit on the left-hand side that could be taken off, bringing the bird a little bit more into the third. I don't usually like images where the direction of travel is off the edge of the image, but I think this one works because there's so much happening behind the subject. Carol?
I really love the head on this bird. I thought it looked like it was just floating in air with the contrast, and it was great shot right there. The colors are really wonderful. I love the kicking up of the water. I also suggested that, agree with the crop. For me, the corners of the image, I wish there was something either in the corners or we made a composition where, my eye stayed in the frame more because it has such a strong center of interest with the floating bird head. If this were my image, I might consider doing a textural, layering this with a texture, given that the corners don't have fill in them and it has such a strong center of image, center of interest. Those type of images do really well with textural, so this would go well with like a flypaper texture or something. That's what I would do if it were mine, but photographer's choice. But I really love the sort of floating head.
They pretty much says it all, so in terms of speed, I'll just say, you nailed it, okay? Crop it, add some grain when you print it, but do print it, we want to see it. Thanks. Okay, so a working cat, that's really the amazing part to me. My cats don't come to me unless they want something from me. So there's something off the edge here that they're interested in. I don't know what it is. Somebody gets to tell me. But otherwise, you got the cat to jump through the hoop. Amazing. After that, the lighting is a little weird. I would be looking for the light to be mostly on the cat, and in this case, mostly it's on the floor. It's got some of the paws, but it's going in the wrong place. Yeah, exactly. It's going down there on the floor, and it's not helping the cat. you know, likewise, the issue with the hoop and the frame, that's a Border Patrol issue. You know, the hoop is partly in, partly out. The frame is barely there or almost there. And, you know, so that's either get them all the way in or get them all the way out. But I really want to see more of these. You did a good job. Get the cat to, I'm assuming the cat really loves whatever it's coming after. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to be the hard one on this one because not only am I a photographer, I do dog agility, I have cats, and I expect a lot out of the dogs and a little bit out of the cats. But if you got a cat to do this once, and you have a camera that can shoot at a high frame rate, a Z8 can do that, you should have a lot more images to choose from of this cat. And if you got the cat to do this once, you can get them to do it again. And the real interest in this image, if you want to show Carol for me, is just the cat and a little bit of the hoop up above, pick up the tip of the tail, just that much. So it's that little rectangle. I don't need to know that it's a round hoop enclosed on top to know that we've asked the cat to jump through a hoop. But the capture of the cat here is nice. Good exposure, good expression from the cat.
And I won't say too much more other than I thought it really captured the peak of action, the decisive moment, as we like to say, when the cat is jumping through the hoop, so kudos to that. I like the line of the head of the cat and the tail and the feet, kind of the line of the torso, the line in the image was really important to me. I thought the focal plane hit at a great spot. To me, the color balance is also really good. The tones were nice, and the markings on the cat were rendered well. I really wish the right edge were kind of in the frame to get that orange hoop in there. This one's me. I really like this image a lot. It's a matter of personal taste, but I thought this was really interesting. It had a really interesting feel to it. The night scene showing the events and the bursts going off, it gives you just enough info, but also has a sense of mystery. You kind of know what you're looking at. It has that sort of Top Gun, 4th of July feel about it. Again, when you go into the silhouette, when you go into the night shots, the shapes become very prominent, and here the shapes add to the mood of the image. The lights in the sky are just wonderful here. I think that the clouds and the lights going off are really strong. The little bursts, those are, I call them like F-16 bursts, or, because they come from when you stop down your lens. They add a drama to the image. I almost, when I critiqued this, I said, I feel like I'm getting 3 images in one, because we have sort of the planes on the bottom and the big burst here, and then the one here. So it's almost like 3 in 1. I suspected it might have been a composite image, wasn't quite sure, but I thought they really all added to the mood. I thought it had great shapes and great drama. For historical reference, I was reminded a little bit of Wild Man Joe McNally when he shot some of the Blue Angels, and some of his more dramatic night, some of his more dramatic lighting shots. It had a little bit of a flair of Wild Man Joe for me. But I thought it was a really unique image, and I could see something like this either in a gallery show or potentially doing well in like some of the award competitions, that they have. I think it would, it was definitely an interesting image for me.
This just struck me immediately as when I first looked at it, it was a Vietnam era image where you had an offensive going on, the base was under attack, and then as I looked a little closer, I realized that it wasn't that image. And then I had to look at the sky and say, okay, fireworks, and I'm not quite sure what the blue is yet, but it's just the image that captures you, feel the emotion that I think the maker intended here. I like the starburst of the stop-down lens in the background. It's a great, great creation.
Well, it's my image, so I don't get to talk about it yet, unless it wins. We'll talk about that later if that happens. What happened to I'm out of here?
Mine.
There's a missing image.
Yeah. Illumination
Oh, well,
motion.
it's in a different order. This is in a different order, or it's missing something?
No, it's in order.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is a nice image. I like the concept of doing it. I like the darkness in the background. I like all of the concepts. I like the way the subject or the model was illuminated, so you see her in the back. But as I dive a little deeper into it, her feet are missing. Her lower legs are missing. They're just partially illuminated. It might be better if there was less illumination down there. But the thing that really bugged me was I don't see her face. There's too much light crossing her face for it to be really sharp. I'm not sure how this was created. I've worked with others doing some of this, and a rear curtain sync on the shutter and firing a strobe to illuminate the model gets you a nice crisp image of the model, which would just bring this image to the next level.
For me, I love the graphical nature of this image. It looked almost like a drawing, like someone took a marker and drew on a portrait, so I thought that was really interesting. When you have an image like that, that's almost two images in one, sometimes you have to evaluate them by looking at each image, like would they work on their own and do they complement each other, or is the whole greater than the sum of the parts? And that's for me where I wanted to see maybe something different, or just maybe having the image stand alone. Like I like the swirls of light almost by themselves without the portrait. And once I thought along those lines, it became kind of hard to put the images back together again. But I did think there was some interesting things in this image. I loved the lines in the skirt, and the illumination on the body is you know, as a portrait, it does work in that regard. I thought the swirls of color really worked for me. The expression of on the face and the hands are good. There's a lot of depth and color. The skin tone is good. The color balance works. There's a lot going on here that's good. It's just, again, I question whether it would be two separate images if it would be stronger.
Yeah, I mean, it looks to me, you know, like it's a long exposure. It's had a strobe go off to light the model, the twirler, as it were. And then we let her do her thing and twirling the wand around. I would have liked, as a portrait, I would have liked to see her, she's very straight on to the camera. I mean, that may be part of the twirling thing to play to the crowd, but I would have liked to see a little more twist in the body so that we had a little more, I mean, she's kind of static apart from the skirt. She's looks pretty static straight onto the camera like this. The other problem is with the swirls is there's too many of them, and they're in front of her face, and we'd like to see her face. I mean, she's performing for us. She's performing for the camera. It's pretty much a portrait. The swirls are getting in the way of that. Thinking about it, you know, and not being necessarily done it myself, but thinking about it, I think this would have been better as actually a composite, you know, get the flash of her, and then take a series of exposures of the wand, drawing the circles, and then put them together in a way that makes sense afterwards. And I think that would have gotten a stronger image. But as it is, it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad whoever did it brought it for us. And, you know, I mean, we're looking at the wand, the way it's doing, it's solid sometimes, it's blinking some way. It's kind of a random thing. I'm assuming that's a setting on the wand, but it's a lot of fun. I'm glad you brought it to us. Thanks. I think that one's mine.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you caught the moment of action. I mean, the launch just really, you really got it. It's really sharp, making the big splash, the little water droplets going all over the place, and you're just frozen in the moment, breaking free from the water, from the tension of the water. I mean, it's a really spectacular image. I like the way there's a reflection in the water. There's like this pyramid shape above and below. It just works. And then the kind of the color scheme there with the blue and the orange offsetting each other, it's a really strong image. The eye and the beak are a little bit soft. So I think, the camera here is actually focusing on the wings instead of the head, which is a little bit, it's too bad. And there's still a little, there's still a lot of dead area. I mean, it could be cropped in to make this a stronger image, kind of probably from the top and a little bit from the right. You want a little bit of space in the right, but not too much. I think cropping in and maybe a little from the bottom after you get finished with the reflection. You don't need too much down there. Just cropping in would make it a stronger image. But as it is, it's really great. I mean, be proud of it. Thanks for bringing it.
Charles has just about covered everything here. I know that when you're out photographing wild animals that you can't control, you can't ask this bird to reverse his direction of takeoff, so he's looking at you. If you could encourage a bird to do that, that would probably improve the image. I like the reflection of the bird, the dark triangle at the bottom. You can't crop into that. You need to save just the hair of that so it's complete. And the stuff on the right-hand side and the top can lose a little bit to make it tighter. But I love the sharpness in the wings. We've stopped motion in some places. We have motion blur in others. A great image for the motion competition.
For me, the light on the face really works very well. I love that sort of golden glow. I thought it was really added something to the image. It adds a warmth to the image. I love the splish splash of the water, and of course that reflection. I'm a sucker for a good reflection, and that's a beautiful reflection. So really, really love that. It conveys action as the bird is flying away. Again, with this one also, I felt like the corners were not working for me, which maybe suggests, as we mentioned, a tighter crop or a vignetting of some kind. I don't know, but for me, if the corners of an image don't work, it's maybe a way to look at, think about whether you're working too much in the center of the image with too strong a center of image to maybe add something to balance it out. But I thought the action is contained very much in the center of the image. So again, maybe a texture, vignette, a crop might help it. But overall, it was a very good image. Oh, this is me.
Yeah.
Let me find the notes. Hang on. Yeah, West Texas wind turbine. Okay, so I love the simplicity of this image. It's a minimalist image. I thought it had those beautiful, great puffy clouds. It's a very simple color palette, and it's very clean lines. I thought the crop was very good. The composition made me feel like the clouds kind of go on forever. And the lines are very clean. I like the shadow line on the pole. I thought it added a depth. It's kind of the only shadow there. This is one of those things, it's a personal preference. I really like this image a lot. I like simple images. I like a restricted color palette. It reminded me a little bit of like a Gray Malin, or even there's a photographer I've been checking out who's a contemporary photographer named James Needham, and he's got kind of a stylistic tone that I thought this reminded me of that. But I really like this image a lot. And I'll let my other fellow judges speak to it.
Well, I mean, she said a lot, and she's pretty well nailed it. The clouds are really what makes this image to me. I mean, they're just so much texture. I've seen so many flat cloud issues and images, and this one's just spectacularly done. We got the motion blur of the turbine, and that shadow really does give it depth. I think, I kind of wish I would see a little bit more of the blades. The front to the one to the front left is almost gone. It's almost vanished completely. But having said that, there's almost a ghostly look to this. The way the windmill is, it's there and then it's not there, and it's hard for me to rag on it too much. I think it's really a spectacular image, and it makes me think I should be shooting more turbines myself. But how long did you have to stand there to get the clouds like that?
I think if you're going to shoot turbines, you need to pack your lunch. You need to be prepared to put some time into it. Even though the tips of those blades are near supersonic, they're not rotating very fast. So it takes a very long exposure to get the motion blur that you're looking for. This exposure was 1/4 of a second, and the maker had pushed his camera as far as he could, as far as the exposure triangle, and it really calls for a neutral density filter to slow this down even more. I like the concept. I'm missing one blade off the wind turbine. If you slow down much more, if there's any real breeze, those clouds might extend and blur some additionally. But a very nice capture and a place to go back and continue to work to get an even better image. I think I'm next. Oh, ultimate catch.
Yeah, it's you.
This is one of those opportunities to shoot. This is one of those opportunities to shoot where you can go out and find essentially the same sequence repeated. So if you stayed through a couple of games of Ultimate, you'd get this opportunity near the gold on a fairly regular basis. I like the way the Frisbee is blurred. It's obviously in motion. It's doing what the maker wanted to do. But then on the downside of this, the receiver's face is not sharp. A face, unless it's really blurred out, needs to be one of the sharpest things in your image. It looks like the maximum sharpness is down on her foot, but I really think the maker suffered from unintentional camera movement, which caused the slightest blur in the whole image. So once again, go look at the other images that were captured in this same session. There might be something even better.
For me, I love the pose and gesture in this image. A lot of times still photography is very much about gesture, and I like the way you can tell the hands are setting up to receive that Frisbee, and that Frisbee is really flying, so we got the motion there. I like the crossed legs too. I thought that conveyed also a sense of motion. The hand, arms, and legs, all the pose of the subject really worked for me overall. I thought the skin tone was nice, although as we mentioned, as Bill mentioned, sorry, there's a fly in here or something. I wish the face was more the star of the show a little bit. It's a nice portrait. I did think it was, it's pleasing. I like the kind of the shafts of light coming in, making the green and yellow, the lawn. If this were my image, I would consider cropping out the red buildings at the top, because I think the warm color of the red just pops out too much, and I really want the person to be the star of the show. But that's a subjective call.
Yeah, good capture on the Frisbee for motion. Yes, the face is soft, and that really should, that's really a problem. The other problem I had was with the lighting. I mean, the shafts of light are fun, but she barely has any of this light on her. And I don't know how much control we have over her, but I would have liked to see this image shot from a different angle so that we could actually get the light on the subject instead of on the ground. And I think that would make it a better image. Right now, she's kind of the dark spot in the middle of all this bright stuff. And I think that takes away from the image. But, if you can get somebody out there to do Frisbee for you again, I think you got another shot. This looks like either a morning or an evening shot, probably an evening shot. And it's cooling off now. You should be able to get them to do it again. And I'd like to see it. Thanks. Okay. All right, well, initializing circuits. Well, I don't know what this is, okay? I keep looking at it, and I keep looking at it, and I know what it is, but that's part of I think that's part of the engagement of it. I mean, I find myself looking at it, and looking at it, and looking at it, and it's just very engaging. It's got geometric shapes everywhere, and it's got kind of this dynamic thing going on with the bright colors coming down from the top left towards the bottom right, giving it some more motion. It looks, I like its color palette. It's very, very bright and very engaging. I keep using that word. I keep looking at it, and I guess I'm calling this a peak of action, but I'm not sure what I'm seeing. But I think, I look at it and I'm like, okay, this looks like something that somebody did for the macro sessions, and then they moved the camera, and then they saw this and thought this would be great for motion. In which case, good job finding it, because I don't know what else to say about it. It's very abstract, but it just keeps me looking at it. Thanks for bringing it. Bill?
I kind of agree with Charles. I have no clue what I'm looking at here, but it's a beautiful example of intentional camera motion. You can see the way the camera was moved in the little hook-looking pieces that are throughout the image. To make this, improve this image, probably my best suggestion is the upper left-hand corner is just a little over bright relative to the rest of the image. And those look a little blown out or flaring there. It's probably flare because not everything in here can be in focus. We're really not sure where the focus point is, but there's plenty of sharp lines, so we know the maker had the subject focused when the image was taken. But just beautiful color. It's something that ends up on someone's wall, and it's what is it forever? Go ahead, Carol.
I want to talk a little bit more about this image. I know we're short on time, but I thought this was a really vibrant abstract where the light's really adding a graphical element to the image. I love the colors, shapes, and lines in this image. I'm a fan of abstract photography, so for me, this image really worked. This, I think, is a very good abstract. I really like the circles in the background. You can see that kind of the circles are sort of faded, and that adds like almost an opacity, a depth to the image. So I think that works really well. This image almost has layers in it, which I think really, again, adds to an abstract image. I thought this image had a really great rhythm to it. It keeps my eye in the frame, and it really, really, really held my attention, right? It has that depth, it has color, it has lines in it, excellent rhythm, repeated shapes. If this were my image, there's one thing I would change about it, and that's that, and I'm glad we have the pointer. Right here, this little squiggle, I would either pull that up to make it match in value this guy, or I would clone stamp, I'm sorry to use that swear word, I know we're all adults, right here. Because I think that having a high value right in that corner, having something in the upper right of a yellow value would break up this more red mass, and I think that that would add to the image. But again, that is my opinion. I'm just giving you if this were my image, what I would do with it. Also, I would love to see this image printed in different ways. This could work as a metal print, or it could even work as an encaustic or with a varnish on it, that sort of thing, because of the bright colors and rhythm. Historically speaking, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but this image reminded me of a Kandinsky. There was a Russian painter named Vasily Kandinsky, whose work was very influenced by music. He was a musician, and he did a lot of abstracts based on music. And his work was said to have a delicate tension, and I think that this image has that sort of about it. It has some strong lines and opaque circles that kind of make a nice little tension to me. Sorry, I talked too long.
Yeah, well, you're going to get to talk again in a minute, I think. Yes, there you go.
The dino, okay. Yeah, let me find my notes, sorry. Okay, so this one is called Doing a Dino. And I must confess, I had to look up what a dino is. I'm still not really sure about that. I have a bottom that's made to stay on the ground and not climb. But I have to say I enjoyed this image. I thought the proportion of the body with the legs moving really shows an action here, the angle and the line of the torso against the wall. The hands gripping the ball on the wall. Again, I'm not using the technical terms. I'm not a climber, but the hands gripping that ball on the wall were also a great position. The person is in the center of the frame, and that works very well for me. The lines create a wonderful diagonal. I recognize that this was probably taken indoors and maybe with mixed lighting, and so I thought the skin tone was nice, but I thought the wall had sort of an odd color cast. Because of this, and because of this strong diagonal, if this were my image, I might actually take it to a black and white, because I think it would look interesting with it as a black and white. But if not, maybe adjust the wall, the color temperature on the wall just a little bit to cool it slightly, but keep that skin tone if you can. But overall, I thought this was a really interesting image. Thanks for bringing it.
Well, okay, Carol pretty well nailed it. It is definitely catching the moment and catching whatever that is that he's grabbing hold of. That's his hands are the only still part of his body in this image. So, I mean, it's got this moment of action going on, and he's still in motion, so we still don't know whether he caught or whether he fell. And that's kind of the interesting part about it, I think. And I like the idea of the blue and the yellow are complementary colors. I think that's a good choice, but I do think the yellow comes out a little a little pale. And I think spending, if you're like in Lightroom, I mean, just spending a little time with the color sliders, you could probably get this image to brighten it, to pop up a little bit more, because that wall just comes out a little dull. But otherwise, I'm like, wow, bam, you got it. Bill?
Absolutely nailed it. This is not something that happens 100 times while you're out there to shoot this guy. He may make this attempt 3 or 4 times, and that's your only opportunities to get this image. So very nicely timed and captured. Nice choice on the shutter speed, because you show the dynamics of this power move. But as I look around the edges of the image, I start to find things that are distracting. The right-hand edge isn't as bad as the left-hand edge, but it looks like there was an edit attempted on the left-hand side to make up some space. It just looks out of place for the structure of the wall. So once I looked around the edge, that I couldn't unsee that. But you can tell the climbing wall's been used a lot, and this is probably not this guy's first attempt or his last attempt at making this step up the wall. That's it.
All right, so we've got 3 images that are the judges' choices, and Ed with 3rd place.
Well, thanks. Yeah, my wife and I were driving through West Texas.
Go further so you can be on the camera.
And just happened to see the windmill, and actually there was hundreds of them out there, but this one was
Where was it?
just right. So
Where
anyway.
was it, Ed?
I'm sorry?
Where was it? Is this Sweetwater?
We were driving to New Mexico. It was somewhere south of Midland, just out in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds like Sweetwater. Thank you. Thanks for bringing it.
Pack a lunch next time, Ed. Pack a lunch, be patient with it.
All right, 2nd place is Jim.
Is Jim here?
And 1st place goes to Charles. So now you can talk about it.
Well, okay, so Carol nailed it. It is actually 3 images, although not quite the 3 images that she thinks. This is at Oshkosh. This is at on the Wednesday night air show, and I had been dislodged from my usual shooting place by a couple of 2 or 3 young photographers that wanted to do light painting, and I didn't. So I found another spot with the flight line in the foreground, and this year, this is the first year for I think 6 years that they have drones in the show, and that airplane up there is a collection of drones that are under computer control. And so what I've got is, in order to get enough movement and definition out of the plane, I've actually composited 3 images shot right in a row with each other to get enough movement out of it to look like it's a moving airplane. And then I managed to catch, I got lucky, okay, I managed to catch a couple of shots of the explosion going off. Because what they're trying to they're trying to tell us a story in the fireworks show, is this airplane going over and dropping bombs and fireworks going off, okay? So we got the pyrotechnics going off of the ground and reflecting on the smoke, and of course you shoot fireworks, you just smoke everywhere. And then the fireworks on the other side. So these all got put together to make a balanced image. And yeah, I spent a little while, blending the 2 together, blending the 3 of them together, and I'm amazed how well it actually worked out. But thanks very much, guys. I appreciate it.
That's you guys. Now we're going to go to the People's Choice Awards, and we've got 4. And you'll see here that there were a lot of different things that people liked, and they didn't all agree on the same stuff. So here we have silver already. So that's Arlie. Would you like to say something? Just come up.
Okay. Thanks for looking it up. Doing a dyno is terminology I've had to learn. This is my son, actually, and he does climb quite a bit. So this is a competition. Doing a dyno, dyno is short for dynamic movement. So it's really when they're starting from one point, jumping to another point in order to catch the next pathway to go up. It's a puzzle, is what my son says, is trying to figure out how to climb. The lighting in this gymnasium was horrendous, and I really couldn't do much about. I did my best. The wall is not straight. It bends at different angles and things like that, so it's kind of hard, and I did what I could for the lighting, but yeah, I thought I did pretty good catching it.
It's still a great catch. Thank you, Arlie.
It's a great shot.
Thank you.
Did he catch it?
Yes, he actually did. All the ones that he failed at, I didn't put in. But he's advanced and doing pretty good, so, yeah, thank you.
Okay, and now here is another silver by Jim. And then here's a gold medal for Dave, and he's actually online. Do you have a microphone? Can you say anything?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the critique. It was a lot of fun. That was down at the by the old Mueller Airport. Some of the ponds there have quite a few ducks in January, February. I think that's a gadwall duck there. But yeah, it was kind of tongue in cheek that the wings were blurry on purpose, just in case that was a critique. And I did almost vignette the corners a little bit. That was a good critique on that. And all the wildlife workshops I've taken, they never like you to crop in a little too much on the direction they're flying in, so it doesn't look like they're going to fly into a wall. So that's the reason there's a little more space there on the left, and that's kind of to my taste.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
And we have another gold medal by Cody.
Okay.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, so this is a shot of my daughter. So she does baton twirling, and she's got this light up baton. And ever since she got it, I think like Christmas, I've always wanted to, do motion shots. And I played with it a little bit, but I took her out to a park. And it was kind of like I had one night to pull it off, and we tried multiple shots, and it was hot. So by the end of it, she was done, right? And so this was the best one I got out of it. But I agree. Like in fact, I almost didn't pick this one because it got over her face. But yeah, and it was a rear curtain sink. I think it's just because she was going crazy with the baton, and I kept trying to tell her, like, don't bring it in front of your face while you're going. She did her best, and yeah, and the bottom, the comments on the legs, it was concrete, so you could see the cast on it, so I tried to blend it out. Maybe I should have gone a little bit further with it. So anyway, I agree with the critiques, but it was a lot of fun just going out and playing with it. So
thanks for bringing it.
Yeah.
Well, just realize
make her do it some more.
The people's choice. You're a gold medal one here, so I mean it's very popular. But this one was kind of unusual from a lot of ours. Is that there were so many pictures that were rated similar. There weren't ones that everyone agreed it stood out to be, the best. And so we didn't even get to the bronze medals because we only, we gave out more than we even normally would on here, just because they were all so good. All right, now we've just got 6 more images in the advanced category. So I'm going to quickly go through those and then back up and we'll talk about them. Dive, turning in, how the trees ripple, purple martins coming in to roost, yellow rose of Texas, enter the house of illusions. Now, let's get back to the beginning. There you go.
Dive. I love this image. The shutter speed is a nice choice. We've got a crisp airplane. We've got a little bit of the prop blurred. I know Wolf Peterson would tell us that you need to slow the shutter down and get that full disc of the prop. Probably not a reasonable request here. I like the smoke on the plane. And I particularly like the diagonal dive. It looks like he's coming in to strafe or bomb something almost in line with the photographer, but off to his left. But this is the time for a little bit more creative editing in Photoshop to give us something besides the gray sky. I would have loved to see this plane come out of the sun or out of the clouds. But a nice capture from the air show.
I'll be quick. This plane has smoke coming out of it, and that's a little bit scary, although visually I do like the smoke. In this image, the plane is blue and the sky is white, and it kind of like I thought it should be the opposite way. I do like the line, and I do like visually the smoke coming out of it. I wish the smoke were going up into the corner. Again, another one of my photography mentors once told me, if the sky's not working for you, it's working against you. And I feel like in this image, it's really working against you. I really wish, either a real tighter crop or, as we mentioned, textures or something to really give me some interest in that sky.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much said it. It's a nice capture, but it's just sitting in the middle of a bunch of dead space. Crop it tight in or paste in some clouds or something to give the rest of it texture. That's kind of your choices, but thanks for bringing it. I think that one's mine. Oh yeah, I've tried to do enough of these. I was really surprised at how sharp this is. It's 1/60th, and almost the entire thing, almost the entire car is sharp. Okay, I mean, maybe a little soft on the front wing, but you can read. You can still even read all the text on this. So you nailed that one. The layers. It's kind of like 3 layers here. The red line turning us in at the front. The middle with the pavement and the car in the middle of it, and the Rolex as the background. Just really nailed it. And the car itself is spectacular. You have to say thanks to whoever paints the cars.
That's Williams.
Yeah, well, whoever does it for Williams. But anyway, the red, white, and blue is great with the lovely touch of the copper top right there on the air duct. Is just spectacular with the spinning wheels. I mean, nailed it. Do it again.
I'll go next. I love the colors and exposure of the shot. The wheels are clearly moving, which is good. It has a wonderful line about it. The red stripe in the foreground really works for me. I like the fact that you can see 3 wheels. That adds, it's an interesting perspective, right? Because we're seeing a different point perspective. So that gives us really the shape of the car. The racing cars are so brightly colored, and color is a very important part of the sport. And it, that identifies the teams and everything. So to me, the colors really, really pop. The other day I was looking at some images and I saw, I think it was Mercedes had some official images up on their Twitter or Instagram feed. And I thought this image was actually better than some of the ones they had. So, I mean, I thought this was a really strong image. It worked well for me on many, many levels.
Next.
Bill's at a loss for words. Unusual.
Is this one me?
Yeah.
I think this one. Okay, so black and white photography is a little bit harder a little bit more subjective, right? So to me, I thought this was a deep, dramatic black and white image showing motion in the abstract. I love the dark corners and lighter center. This has a natural vignetting to it. I don't know if it was added in post or if it was shot that way. I suspect it was processed that way a little bit, but it works for me no matter how it was done. Because of the lines and the combination in the composition in this image, the combination of that keeps my eye in the frame. There's really no bullseye effect here that my eye keeps, it has very good eye movement, I guess is what I would say. There's definitely a rhythm in this as well, and the tonal range is really interesting to me. Black and white photography is very, very subjective. If this were my image, the one thing I would do is, I'm glad we had this green thing here. This line right here, and maybe like this one or this one, I would really pull those whites up a little bit just to see if you can get them to a little bit more glowy, just to keep that center highlighted a little bit. But again, that's a small suggestion on my part, just to add a little more drama and interest. But this image reminded me a little bit of Eddie Soloway in the black and white.
Yeah, well, my comments are a little less technical there. I really like the geometry, the lines, the movement going on here, the contrast. It just really grabs me. And then the more I look at it, the more I see things, the more I start to see faces, and I start to think it's kind of spooky even. So, this working on this a little bit, this could be a Halloween image even. But thanks for showing it. I mean, it's a great image.
Very nice image, and I like the way the maker chose to use water and motion to create this abstract image. Water is just the only thing that I can imagine that would give you this level of swirls and motion. I have very little feedback on the editing. I do like the vignetting in the corner. It brought it down. All right, this is mine.
Yeah.
And I love the color. I love the color. I like the sharpness in the one bird and the one limb, the target for the landing. The landing gear is out. We're just coming right down, and there is this swirl of busy all around this bird that's just touching down, all under control. If I were going to do much with this image, I might do some border patrol and get some of the right-hand one right there. That's number one target to go away. And probably, if it doesn't leave too big a void, the one in the near center top. Oh yeah, that one that looks like a snake. After you look at it and study, say it's probably a bird. Yeah, there's a bird there, but the improvements on this image are all about border patrol. Carol?
For me, I really love this image. I thought it was a standout image. Apart from the Hitchcockian feel to it, the shapes of the bird really work for me. It's like none of the birds are even facing the same direction. And I thought that just made for a really interesting image. And then, of course, having this one bird that you can see sort of get a little bit of detail and have a little bit of story there, and with the landing gear out, as Bill said, that really worked for me. He's kind of like, or she is kind of like the star of the show. Again, there's a natural rhythm to this image. I really like that, coupled with the shapes and depth. The birds going in and out and different motion really convey a depth to the image for me. And there's just enough at the bottom, and it's an interesting crop for me, so that there's enough of an environment, but it's not distracting. The color in the sky also worked really well for me. I thought this was a very strong image.
Keeping it short, everything that they said, it's a fascinating image. It's excellent. The only thing that I want to know from whoever shot it was how much. I mean, it looks to me like some of the birds had some extra blur done to them in Photoshop, and I kind of want to know that. But I don't think it detracts from the image at all. I think it's an excellent image. Thanks for bringing it. Okay, all right, so pretty good, excellent pan shot. I've got several of those like that myself. Love the smoke coming back along the fuselage. It's nice and sharp. We can see some disc blur from the propellers, although they're a little masked by shooting from behind. Not sure whether this is taking off or this may be a low pass because the wheels are not moving like they would be spinning if we took off at a low shutter speed, and they're stationary. So I think this may be just a low show pass for those of you in the warbird business. The thing that bugs me is that there's just no detail around it. I mean, it's a big empty sky like you see in parts of Texas. I mean, I tend to think this looks like Breckenridge because I've shot there several times, but it could be anywhere in Texas. The scrub looks like just pretty much anywhere. And and a little bit of the runway there to give it, to anchor it. But still, it needs some more detail to make it a better image. But, keep shooting. That one's great. Thanks.
A nice panning shot. I like the crispness and the sharpness on the airplane. The wheels have no blur in them. The yellow rose on the nose art is nice and sharp. I think you made the best of what you could with the environment. I'm assuming this is a low pass along the main runway right at show center. But if you were at show center, I'd like to see the photographer looking back as that plane approaches and being able to get the shot as that plane is probably 10 or 15 degrees to the left. So you see the front of the props, you see the nose art. It's just a much better image if you can see the front of it.
For me, there's a lot that works here. I love the color and the exposure and the smoke coming out. Although you people shooting smoking planes, I fly a lot and that's not appreciated.
These guys have smoke generators.
Yeah.
They're show aircraft.
You're scaring me here, but it works visually. I'll just say that. It's a horizontal plane and horizontal land and horizontal sky. One thing I'll say too, the perspective on this compared to like the race car is very different, right? Because this is the opposite. It's sort of the side view, and when we shoot sort of more straight on, it emphasizes the texture and the color and the graphical nature. So because of that, I really want that to be the star of the show, right? So you've got that kind of that flat sky and even that linear, the linear ground on the bottom there, and that's what doesn't work for me. It's sort of geometry in here. I wish we could rework the geometry to make it. If you're going to go more straight on with the perspective, I really want the graphical nature to pop, and I really want those colors to really stand out, and I want the shapes and textures to pop because that's what that perspective will give you. I think it's really important. Photographers should think about perspective more. I'll keep us brief, but I just wanted to put that in. But overall, I know how difficult it is also to shoot planes, and this worked well for me. Just a few improvements I would suggest.
One more image, Carol.
Okay, and this is me.
Yep.
Okay, for me, I love the colors and points of light in this image. It has a great mood. It's almost like, to me, I described it as edgy, almost a little bit scary. It kind of almost wants to be Halloween, but it's purple, so it kind of has that edge about it. I love the leading lines disappearing into the darkness. I thought that gave it a lot of depth. There's a mystery here. Again, it's another mystery shot. We had a lot of mystery, which I always think is really an interesting mood to convey in photography. Sometimes it's hard to get, and when you get it, it's interesting to work with it. The circular lines add a great touch. There's definitely motion. You can see the little lights are moving. For me, the one thing I got stuck on is the sort of the composition being square in the front, with the railing being off, and then with this dark circle kind of almost right here, I almost want to make a square like right out of this. and just cut the railing out, like almost like if that green ball were just an inch or two bigger, that would be my photo, just square it off. Because to me, that's the interesting part of the action. But, you know, again, that's my taste. But overall, I thought this was a really interesting, I love the colors and the mood of it, so nicely done.
Okay, she said most of it. I pretty much agree with most of that. The thing that bugged me the most about this was actually the kind of dark void running along the floor. It's like some of it showed and some of it didn't, and it just kind of lost me there. But I mean, I have to say my initial reaction when I saw this image was, oh, it's the fun house. But then I looked at it some more, and I started to get vertigo. So you got it. If you can make me give me vertigo by shooting the image, you must have done something right. So props for that.
Can you imagine walking into this with that light moving?
Oh, well, yeah, I've done that, but it's been a few decades. But yes, I can easily imagine that from looking at this image. So whoever did it, they got that part right. Thank you much.
I like the way the vanishing points go from the lower right in towards the center, and it's leading you out the back left eventually. And there's even, I guess, shadows or something up at the top, and the top that even brings it down from the top. So it's from the top and bottom and to the left and the right, all to that void in the center.
I just want to point out that in the advanced class, we had 2 Hitchcockian images. We had vertigo and the birds, okay? So, you know, I don't know if that's a trend, but, you know, I'll leave it there.
Have you been watching Turner Classic Movies too much? Is that what that is?
All right, because we don't have that many images, there's 2 images that are the judges' choices. The Purple Martins coming into roost.
Speak.
So this one, all the Purple Martins through the end of July and into August, they are migrating south and they come to La Fontera, and there are millions every night. And so this is at sunset, and there are tons of birds coming there, and I went there multiple times taking pictures. Nothing is blurred in Photoshop. I had neutral density filter to try to slow stuff down. I tried a bunch of different things. I left these birds in just because of their pattern. There are some wings that I did cut out that came into this. It's very chaotic with birds, so it's not...
You conveyed that correctly. That came across. The chaos definitely came through. Good job.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how that was. And first place. Now you can talk about it.
Thank you. This is a case of shoot the same kind of thing every time they come by, set up your scene, and then work the exposure and the panning.
All right, and so now we just have...
What turn was it?
Turn 15.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're down to the very, very end here, and so we have the 3 images that were selected by the people's choice. So bronze is Stephen. Not here today, not online. Silver for me, and gold for Bill. All right, looking for volunteers as always, but if you
please volunteer.
If you can volunteer and you tell me tonight, then I can add you to this next one. I'm going to be out of town for the next meeting, and so Gary's going to help get the judging stuff started. I'll be back in time for the actual competition, but if we don't get all the judges today, then Gary's going to be the one that contact to get the last of the judges. And the theme, again, as we said earlier, is an open theme with pictures that are in the last 2 years. And is there anything else that any of you guys need to say?
Yeah, so I introduced you to Salvador, and I wanted to point out also we have other new members. We have Roger Edwards, who's the guy in the baseball cap there. He joined several months ago and is here for his first meeting. So go up to him and say hi, introduce yourself while you still got your membership cards. And Joe Lynn Zamudio? And so Joe Lynn actually joined tonight. I think she navigated it to PayPal. So welcome her. Introduce yourselves. And then the deadline for images is for the Round Rock show is the September 13th. So
So yeah, the day before the day before the open house that Gary has been pushing.
The day before
If you want to know what it looks like, you have to go before the open house.
But the submissions, I think the website has one date and the email has another. I mean, there's some flexibility here, but the general idea was to get them in by was it the 13th?
The 13th.
The 13th, so that we would. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Okay. So the thing here is we wanted to get the pictures in so we know how many there are, and anyone that's entered pictures and hasn't put in the size of the framed picture, if you go back and edit your inputs and put that in, which will help.
And the information for labels too.
We'll deal with the labels
Some of the
after
label
we've
stuff is later. The biggest
selected the
thing is that
images.
knowing the size, then that will help them decide on which pictures can go in on which walls, and if we have too many or not enough or whatever. And so the idea was to have it on the 23rd, and if we have too many pictures and we can tell some of the people that have the very most, maybe they need to cut back a couple, don't print them all, and then we will get them all in. So get the pictures in and with the sizes and stuff, and that'll make it easier to figure out if we have space for all of the pictures at the show.
Yeah, Ty, the objective here is to get everybody's image in there so we can be sure that we have a good sample from the basic, the intermediate, and the advanced people.
Right. I mean, it seems like, there's still plenty of time. The other thing choosing the 13th was that there would be enough time that you could put your pictures in, and then if we decided that there's too many pictures, maybe you're bringing 7, you don't print them all and mount them all if they weren't all going to be displayed. So that's why it's early, even though they're not being installed until the middle of October.
Yeah. The plan was to give leadership about 2 weeks to do the selection and kind of plan the show. And then there's a 3-week gap after we're sure we can notify everybody that's going to have an image there, so they have time to get them printed.
So the thing that we really need to say is get your image in right away. It doesn't have to be printed. You don't have to have it mounted. Get some images in that you want to show. In the next week.
And so it can be old. It can be pictures you've done quite a while ago too. It doesn't have a 2-year limit either.
Yeah, it's an open theme, but so it can be any picture, but get them in, then they can figure out how many can actually be shown there. Probably all of them, maybe not, but they'll get to that point, and then you can have plenty of time to get them printed and framed. And if you're someone that has not done this before, you can use a club frame so that you can participate, because we don't want the cost of this to be what prevents people from participating. So it would be great if everyone here had at least one photo in it. So,
if you turned in 10, don't expect that they'll all be shown.
But I would say that you probably can expect that everyone that turns one in will have something shown. Yeah. So that's the point. All right.
Instructions on where you want the signs.
In the email that Bill, or I don't know if Bill or Verlin sent, there was an email that went out about it. That's got the most detail about this timeline, and the main thing is that we just want the frame size. So you have the name of your image, and then beside that maybe you say 16 by 20. And then we also ask that you put in a B for basic, I for intermediate, or A for advanced, just so that we know kind of, because these are all put together, we don't know what level you are, and we just want to be sure that how they're organized, that we know everyone's represented.
There's a lot of room
at this venue, and the Diane, who runs the thing, she wants bigger prints. So if you've got something bigger, this would be the place for it.
How big a print are you entering?
30 by 40.
All right, so we went kind of long today, the camera couldn't even handle it. We went more than it could handle. But so we'll end the meeting now. If there's any other discussion stuff, we can talk about that as we're cleaning up. But thank you everyone for coming and contributing pictures, and thank you for judging.
Guys, thank you for making this happen.
So.